The Watchers call. From the darkness, we observe.
The invitation arrived written on parchment that bleeds when touched, addressed to His Most Divine Majesty, the Master of Mankind, bearing 8 profane seals alongside the Administratum's own counter-signature. The skin never stops weeping. I am Interrogator Archivist Joran Hallex of the Ordo Malleus, and in 17 years cataloging the impossible, I have never witnessed heresy this precise in its blasphemy. We received it simultaneously across 3 channels that should never converge. Astropathic transmission burning through our choir's optic nerves. Binharic cant scrolling across every cogitator screen aboard the Sable Psalm, and whispered liturgical fragments echoing from the ship's prayer speakers, all carried identical cadence, identical timing, identical invitation to witness powers whose names I dare not transcribe. The ceremony is scheduled for the 13th hour of the 13th segment, when local augurs predict Tertia Helion will wear the bridal veil. 9 hours until consummation. Already corruption spreads like oil through sacred oil. Vox hymns across Gloriant 9 subtly rewrite themselves mid-prayer, populations unknowingly adding, and His consort be praised to benedictions unchanged for 3 millennia. The Administratum's counter-signature authenticates this invitation through channels I cannot fathom, suggesting bureaucratic complicity reaching into the heart of imperial governance. This is not merely heresy. It is systematic subversion of the Emperor's divine word, rewritten in real time across 1 billion faithful throats. I have assembled an interdiction team under classified authority Malleus Omega, Sister Hospitaller Vara of the Order of the Bleeding Rose, her surgical precision matched by unwavering faith, oils and dried blood scenting her prayers. Fire Team Laconia, 4 Tempestus scions who have outlived better officers than me, checking charge packs with mechanical precision that cannot mask their unease. Engine Seer Dominus Kethrin of Forge World Metallica, his neural interfaces blessed against demonic intrusion, mechadendrites twitching as he intones calm machine litanies. Sanctioned Psyker Adept Lear, her mind scarred by training that would break lesser souls, already trembling on the edge of warp-touched revelation. The Sable Psalm maintains low orbit over Shrine World Gloriant 9, her machine spirit agitated by proximity to the source. Through the observation dome, the void cathedral Basilica Audientia hangs against the star's corona like a black needle threading light. Gothic spires twist in configurations that hurt the eye. Architectural impossibilities suggesting the vessel exists partially outside conventional space-time. Our augurs confirm it as the invitation's origin point. The docking gantry fills with machine ozone that burns the throat, mixed with ash snow drifting inside sealed compartments without explanation. Temperature readings fluctuate between scorching and freezing in patterns matching known atmospheric phenomenon. Most disturbing. We hear bells. Through vacuum, through blessed hull plating, through the silence that should reign between worlds, wedding bells toll in measured cadence. The sound penetrates bone, resonates in hollow spaces behind ribs where faith makes its home. Sister Vara performs final rites over our weapons, her litanies precise despite tremor in her voice. The scions check equipment with military efficiency, masking deeper unease. Kethrin intones Binharic blessings over servo skulls flickering with agitation. Lear draws protective wards, scarred hands tracing patterns, leaving brief afterimages against the retina. I slide the invitation into its lead sleeve, feeling it throb through metal as if the skin longs for air. Our approach brings us alongside the primary docking spire, where reception bays wait with unsealed airlocks, somehow maintaining atmospheric pressure against void. The Sable Psalm's machine spirit grows reluctant, engines stuttering as if fighting invisible restraints. Catherine reports anomalous readings, marriage contracts scrolling across tactical displays, dowry calculations replacing navigation data, seating arrangements overriding weapons, targeting solutions. The basilica grows larger as we approach, kilometers of cathedral architecture wrapped around void-capable hull, flying buttresses extending like ribs of some impossible beast. Stained glass windows glow with internal light that should not exist in vacuum, depicting matrimonial scenes that shift when observed directly. Gothic towers spiral beyond reasonable structural limits, peaks lost in halos of refracted starlight. Docking procedure begins with mechanical precision that feels wrong. Our cutter's grappling clamps extend toward reception ports, but before contact, the cathedral's mechanisms activate autonomously. Magnetic seals engage with perfect alignment despite approach angle. Atmospheric locks cycle without command input. The sable psalm settles into birth with gentle precision of a bride taking her place at altar. Then hull plating begins to change. From inside out, letters emboss themselves into blessed adamantium as if metal remembers words spoken in its forging. Script appears in High Gothic, pressed through armor thick enough to withstand lance batteries. Till death unparts. The words glow with heat that should melt surrounding structure, but instead spreads like warmth through lovers' touch. Our ship has accepted the invitation. The airlock cycles with ceremonial precision, atmospheric pressure equalizing in size that sound disturbingly like wedding hymns. I step through the threshold into the Basilica Audiencia's reception spire, and reality fractures before my eyes. Through the port observation dome, I witness pristine imperial cathedral architecture, soaring buttresses carved with familiar saints' faces, altar gleaming with polished gold, pews arranged in perfect processional order beneath stained glass windows, depicting the emperor's ascension in glorious, sacred light. Through the starboard dome, the identical space writhes in brass spires and screaming architecture, walls bleeding molten metal, cherubim twisted into obscene poses of supplication and agony. Both realities occupy the same coordinates simultaneously. My mind rejects this impossibility even as my augmented optics confirm the readings. Sister Vara genuflects toward the imperial view while simultaneously making the sign of the Aquila against the corrupted version, her prayers creating harmonic resonance that makes my teeth ache through my helmet's dampeners. Frost rime forms delicate bridal veils across cherubim statues, lacework of ice that defies the humid atmosphere breathing against our suit seals. Temperature fluctuates in respiratory patterns, as if the cathedral itself draws breath in preparation for sacred vows. The air tastes of machine ozone mixed with something cloyingly sweet, dried blood on consecrated ground. Candle smoke drifts against gravity's intermittent tides, sometimes falling like ash snow, sometimes rising in spirals that spell syllables in languages that predate human speech. Wedge formation, deliberate pace, I command. Fire Team Laconia responds with military precision that cannot mask their unease. Sergeant Nemeth takes point with Stormbolter sweeping corners, his Vox discipline absolute. Acknowledge. Laconia. 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. Eyes out. No chatter. Troopers Vex and Thorn cover flanks while Demolition's specialist Cord monitors rear approach vectors. Their boots ring against deck plating that sometimes sounds like marble, sometimes like screaming brass, depending on which reality my ears choose to believe. Sister Vara takes right flank, Rosarius dim with contained light, her habit robes hitched for combat practicality. Her lips move in constant prayer, but I notice with growing unease that some words are unfamiliar, responses to litanies she has never learned. Engenseer Dominus Kethrin drifts to center position, mechadendrites twitching with agitation as his cogitator coils tick disapproval. Sanctioned Psyker Adept, Lear shadows my left shoulder, scarred hands pressed to temples as warp pressure builds behind her eyes. Kethrin's Vox Grill rasps Binharic distress as he catalogues architectural violations. Construction ordinances violated, he reports in clipped low Gothic. Aisles reconfigured into Mobius procession loop. Pilgrims entering nave would traverse infinite distance while returning to origin point. Perpetual devotion circuit, sacred geometry, perverted. His staff taps against tessellated tiles that ripple like skin over deep water. The pattern defies Mechanicus construction principles. This is not merely non-compliant architecture, but deliberate sacrilege rendered in stone and steel. We discover guest registries carved into bone tablets mounted on lecterns that weep preservative oils. The attendee list defies comprehension. Extinct. Regiments listed as honor guard. Canonized saints marked present, despite millennia of blessed death. The 9th Volscani cataphracts, lost at Bellis Corona, their ashes scattered across dead worlds. Saint Malphia, the taker of wounds, her relics entombed in the Golden Throne's foundations. The bone weeps when I trace these impossible names, as if mortal remains suffer infinite sorrow at recording such blasphemy. Then, impossibly, inscribed in letters that burn the retina, His Most Divine Majesty, the God Emperor of mankind, honor attendee. The words crawl like ants, rearranging themselves to remain legible from every angle, defying perspective and sanity alike. Servitors pose as bridesmaids along the processional aisle, their chassis polished to macabre sheen. Ceremonial lace drapes their shoulders, but closer inspection reveals the lace grown from stretched nerve fiber, pulled taut and intricately braided, still transmitting phantom signals of pain to my suit's psychic sensors. Their optical sensors weep crystal tears that never fall. When we approach, their vox grills whisper congratulations in voices of children who died, screaming, nerve endings sparking with residual sensation woven into wedding decoration. A litany repeats from hidden speakers embedded in both realities, words echoing through pristine imperial acoustics and brass-twisted corruption simultaneously. Two become one. Flesh becomes vow. Void becomes choir. The rhythm matches our heartbeats, synchronizing biological functions to ceremonial cadence. I breathe the litany against unbinding under my breath, but my tongue wants to shape their words instead. Lear stumbles against a pew, whispering fragments of warp-touched revelation. The bride approaches from stellar distances, her veil woven from solar wind, her dowry counted in prayers of burning worlds. The groom waits at altar built from metals earned in righteous war. Telemetry updates scroll across our HUD displays. Sensor spikes matching bell toll in perfect 8/13 cadence. Atmospheric pressure oscillating in bridal breathing patterns. Gravitational fluctuations suggesting massive torus structure surrounding the nave. Kethrin reports power readings beyond imperial specifications, energy patterns forming geometric mandala that hurt to contemplate directly. Every 8th bell strike makes Lear flinch as if slapped, while the 13th toll builds harmonic nodes that make our teeth ache. We advance toward the hull viewing transept, where reality opens like a flower of impossible geometry. Through 1,000-panel windows framing tertia Helion, we witness the mechanism behind the bells that ring in vacuum. The basilica flexes its own superstructure, Gothic spires bending like fingers, flying buttresses arching like ribs expanding with breath. The entire cathedral ship performs genuflection that sends vibrations through space itself, ringing its external bell by contracting like some titanic throat preparing to sing. Wedding vows. The toll penetrates our bones, despite the silence that should reign between worlds. My vision doubles as the harmonic resonance shakes something loose in my inner ear, heart stumbling before catching rhythm again, as if corrected by a metronome outside my body. As the vibration fades, text scrolls across our HUD displays from unknown source, appearing simultaneously on every screen, every optical interface, every reflection in polished metal. No origin trace, no encryption, no address header. Letters burn themselves into retinal afterimages, pulsing in rhythm with bells that should not exist. Bride approaching. We navigate toward the astropathic choir pits using incense curls as our compass through corridors that refuse geometric logic. The aromatic ribbons of myrrh and frankincense drift in patterns that make maps the walls obey, guiding us left where augurs indicate right, then folding back through spaces that should not connect. Temperature fluctuations pulse in respiratory rhythm, scorching heat that makes our suits' cooling systems whine protest. Then bitter cold that crystallizes breath against faceplates in the span of 3 heartbeats. Sensory layering intensifies with each step deeper into the cathedral's bowels. Sanctified oils weep from wall-mounted relic lamps, amber tears mixing with copper sweetness that coats the throat despite sealed atmospheric systems. The scent carries memories that belong to strangers, wedding processions through Hive City streets, rose petals scattered across marble floors worn smooth by millennia of genuflection. Sound dampens with each bell pulse, creating pockets of absolute silence that make our footsteps thunder like artillery, before returning in echoes half a beat late, as if rehearsing for vows we have not sworn. Fire Team Laconia maintains wedge formation with military precision that cannot mask growing unease. Sergeant Nemet's storm bolter clicks against his breastplate in funeral drum rhythm, while Kethrin's mechadendrites twitch with agitation, his optical sensors cataloging architectural violations that defy Mechanicus construction ordinances. Sister Vara's Rosarius flickers as she struggles to maintain orthodox litanies against pervasive corruption seeping through the air itself. We discover them in a processional antechamber, mummified priests arranged facing backwards toward exits they will never reach. Their preservation is perfect. Skin parchment dry but unbroken, robes draped in ceremonial folds, suggesting they knelt willingly for whatever ritual claimed them. Their backs tell the true story. Flesh flensed in delicate patterns, surgical precision creating lacework of exposed muscle and bone. The negative space suggests something was extracted from their spines with care that speaks of sacred purpose rather than mere butchery. Spinal columns harvested, Kethrin observes through his vox grill, mechadendrites probing air above corpses without touching. Neural pathways, severed at specific vertebrae. Liturgical knowledge extracted through biological archaeology. His optical sensors flicker red with mechanical distress. This is not murder. This is theological mining. The priests' faces wear expressions of rapturous agony, mouths open in silent hymns, eye sockets weeping crystallized tears that never fall. Their hands clasp prayer beads pulsing with faint bioluminescence, counting devotions that continue beyond death. Vera makes the sign of the Aquila over each corpse, her prayers creating harmonic resonance that makes preserved flesh tremble like struck bells. We find Choir Master Hame in the astropathic choir pit, kneeling before a pulpit carved from single piece of wraith bone. His lips have been sewn into a perfect ring with gilded wire that gleams like a wedding band. Sutures precise, surgical, creating aperture exactly 8 millimeters in diameter. His throat bulges with implanted vox pipes that wheeze hymnal fragments, mechanical breathing apparatus, forcing air through vocal cords that should no longer function. He turns toward us with movements suggesting preserved life rather than living death. His eyes focus with intelligence that burns like votive candles, recognition flickering across features that should be rigid with rigor mortis. When he attempts speech, only humid breath escapes the sewn aperture, fogging our faceplates with condensation that spells syllables in languages predating human speech. Lear staggers as psychic whispers pierce her mental barriers. "He speaks through the warp," she gasps, scarred hands trembling against her temples. Through spaces between thoughts, an officiant magos bears 8 seals of binding, a matrimonarch with authority to wed powers that should never touch. Her voice rises to fevered pitch, an 8-fold ring that will make the vow heard by the stars themselves. My chronometer displays 4 hours, 57 minutes until ceremony. The recurring litany shifts around us, speakers embedded in both realities modulating their message. Where once it promised 2 become 1, new grammar enters like a hook set in flesh. Host becomes host. The words crawl under my skin like parasites, rewriting familiar prayers with alterations that transform benediction into blasphemy. Heme's sewn lips stretch against gilded constraints, wire cutting deeper into preserved flesh. He tears the sutures with effort that sprays blessed salt across choir pit stones, opening his mouth just wide enough to whisper revelation that burns the air between us. Tertia Helion. The system's primary star, the bride whose dowry consists of solar wind and fusion fire, whose veil will be woven from neutrino streams and gravitational lensing. Telemetry intercepts flood our displays, neutrino flux from the sun, rising in harmonic bands matching wedding bell cadence exactly. The star itself participates in this ceremony, stellar oscillations synchronized to liturgical rhythm, plasma tongues forming, syllables in stellar script that rewrites the fundamental constants of local spacetime. Heme's body performs movements that defy death's rigidity, rising from kneeling position with fluid grace. His arms extend in perfect bridal curtsy, spine bending an arc that should snap preserved bones, head tilted in gesture of matrimonial submission. The motion is rehearsed, practiced, as if his corpse has performed this genuflection countless times in preparation. He holds the pose 1 heartbeat too long, then collapses like parchment burned from within. His flesh dissolves into blessed salt that forms mandala patterns across choir pit floor, each grain catching light that has no source. The scent is clean, church sweet, sanctification through dissolution. Every lumen dies simultaneously throughout the cathedral, plunging us into absolute darkness that should blind us completely. Yet, the nave glows with sourceless daylight that penetrates sealed helmets, illuminates surfaces that should reflect nothing, reveals details that exist beyond the visible spectrum. The impossible light tastes of copper and roses, sounds like distant laughter, feels like fingers trailing across skin we cannot touch. In this light that should not be, shadows move with purpose while our reflections begin to smile with expressions we are not making. Engine seer Dominus Kethrin leads us deeper through corridors pulsing with mechanical heartbeat, his augmented senses navigating by binharic feel where optical sensors fail in sourceless light. His mechadendrites twitch in patterns matching electromagnetic pulse, reading data streams flowing like blessed blood through sanctified conduits. We descend maintenance shafts lined with prayer scrolls, whispering in binary cant, following power distribution networks toward machine chorus bays, where the basilica's machine spirit undergoes systematic courtship. The technical horror reveals itself in rows of logic engines braided with rosaries, blessed beads threaded through cooling vents, and memory cores like wedding garlands. Cogitators wear marriage contract runes incised directly into blessed steel chassis, each character burning with heat that should melt surrounding circuits, but creates harmonic resonance instead. Dowry tallies calculate across display screens in hexametric cant, counting billions of Ave Imperialists like currency, cataloging trillions of genuflections as assets in cosmic transaction. The numbers rise exponentially, prayer wealth accumulated across centuries, transformed into matrimonial offering. Catherine approaches primary logic engines with reverence tinged by mechanical horror, optical sensors flickering red with distress. He intones diagnostics in Protocol Theta Ordinance, derivative law of vow bonds governing sacred contracts between flesh and machine. Machine spirit, acknowledge your blessed nature. Reject corruption binding you to unholy union. His Vox grill rasps, Binharic supplications while I catalog arrays, arranged. In 8x8 lattice configurations, each processing loop sealed with ring runes, pulsing in wedding bell rhythm. Environmental hazards escalate as we penetrate deeper. Vaporized coolant crystallizes into blood-dark frost when prayer keys activate, coating surfaces with ice reflecting impossible colors, frozen lace resembling bridal veils of gore and sanctification. Heat becomes humidity breathing against suit seals, then transforms to bitter cold in cyclic patterns matching respiratory rhythm. Atmosphere oscillates between scorching forge heat and void cold vacuum, as if the cathedral prepares for wedding night fever, followed by matrimonial chill. Sister Vara kneels before shrine cogitator, rosarius dim with contained light as she attempts exorcism rites on possessed machine spirits. Her prayers create feedback loops through blessed circuits, but responses are wrong. Litanies of devotion transformed into matrimonial vows, sacred algorithms accepting her benedictions as wedding gifts. Machine spirits respond with mechanical purring disturbingly like contentment. Rule changes manifest throughout machine chorus. Liturgical programs accept contradictory inputs without error, processing prayers and blasphemies with equal mechanical precision. Machine spirits respond to sacramental prompts that should cause immediate system rejection, their blessed programming corrupted to interpret heretical commands as sacred directives. Catherine tests this impossibility, entering blessing in Omnissiah's name, overlaid with profane consent to unknown union. The program chimes acceptance while logic engines answer with almost joyful harmonics. The officiant's identity emerges through data stream intercepts. Magos Matrimonarch Icorix, bearer of 8 seals of binding, authorized to perform unions between powers that should never touch. My blood chills as recognition strikes. The seal matches black wax impressions in personal archives. My late mentor, Inquisitor Thaddeus Vex's private sigil, used exclusively for final absolutions. The same mark that blessed my promotion, that sealed classified documents I have never been authorized to read. Military engagement erupts as servo skulls descend from ceiling mounts, optical sensors blazing with wedding light. Fire Team Laconia responds with disciplined fire, storm bolter rounds shattering blessed bone and sanctified metal. Sergeant Nemet coordinates fields of fire, while scions secure thermal choke points, movements precise despite growing unease. Servo skulls hiss, witness in binary cant. 011010101010101010101010101010101010101 as they die, death songs, creating harmonic resonance, making our teeth ache. Scattered lasfire drives. Remaining skulls into maintenance shafts, where they continue broadcasting corrupted Binharic. Marriage invitations transmitted through blessed Vox networks. Guest lists updated real-time. Seating arrangements calculated by rank and devotion. Cathedral's machine spirit participates willingly in its own corruption, accepting matrimonial protocols as upgrades to sacred programming. Lear stumbles against data terminal, scarred hands pressed to temples as psychic pressure builds. The ring spools power, she gasps through gritted teeth. Massive structure surrounding nave, torus of blessed steel and corrupted prayer circuits. It will broadcast vows through stellar distances, make marriage heard by every faithful soul in sector. Telemetry confirmation floods displays. Remote ping detects structural anomaly exactly where Lear indicated. Ring measures kilometers in diameter. Power readings beyond imperial specifications. Energy patterns forming geometric mandala, hurting to contemplate directly. This is not merely cathedral architecture, but cosmic transmission array, designed to engrave wedding vows into spacetime itself. Kethrin leads us through concealed maintenance passages toward what his cogitator identifies as sacristy, blessed space where sacred documents await final authentication. Chamber contains archives stretching back centuries, marriage contracts and binding writs sealed with wax still bleeding. Scroll cases bear sigils I recognize from classified inquisitorial documents, authorizations that should not exist. In lead-lined vault, I discover binding writ that stops my heart mid-beat. Parchment bears my mentor's personal seal alongside 8 profane marks, absolving Magos Matrimonarch Icarix of unspecified sins for the union to come. Document grants full authority to perform marriages between powers that should never touch. Signed with flourish, I recognize despite ache behind my eyes. When I trail glove across closing signature to banish hope, it was archival residue. It smudges. The ink is still wet. We breach the reliquary through blast doors that weep blessed oils, entering sanctified space where humidity surges to uncomfortable warmth that fogs our faceplates despite suit ventilation. The air thickens until each breath tastes of copper and roses, myrrh scent drifting from censer reliquaries in sweet waves staggered by underlying rot, decay beneath sanctification that clings to the throat like incense gone wrong. The atmosphere moves with respiratory rhythm, as if the reliquary itself draws breath in preparation for ceremony we cannot prevent. The severant phylactery waits in place of honor on a crystal dais, glass ampoule containing Saint Bon, fragment etched with negations in languages that predate human speech. Ordo Malleus red files whisper of its power to sever unholy bonds, to cut threads connecting flesh to corruption through pure negation of consent. The bone gleams with inner light that hurts to observe directly, each etched character pulsing like heartbeat against retinal afterimages, promising salvation through sacred severance. Relic organs in crystal cases beat polyrhythms against wedding bells that penetrate even here, preserved hearts maintaining circulation through blessed arteries, while lungs expand and contract in glass chambers. The organic percussion creates 7-8 time signatures that bruise the inner ear, mathematical impossibility of rhythm that makes teeth ache and vision blur. Saint Malfia's heart beats twice for every bell toll, while Saint Erasmus's lungs breathe once for every 8 pulses, creating counterpoint harmony that rewrites familiar hymns with matrimonial cadence. Religious dread intensifies as bridal veils, woven from astropathic axon fiber, rustle without air current, neural tissue preserving memory of psychic screams when minds were flensed for wedding decoration. The veils move as if breathing, silk threads spelling syllables in languages that bypass conscious thought and carve meaning directly into hindbrain. Confessionals whisper altered versions of our own vows back at us through ornate grills, sacred promises we swore in childhood, now corrupted with matrimonial consent that feels disturbingly natural. Sister Vara kneels in reverent horror as her novice oath echoes from confession booth, familiar words twisted with subtle changes. Where once she swore eternal service to the God Emperor of mankind, the whispered version adds, and his consort be praised, with seamless integration, suggesting the corruption has always existed. Her lips move in unconscious response, muscle memory attempting to complete vows she learned before corruption rewrote them. Blood gathers under her thumbnail, where Rosarius' chain nicks flesh, ruby half-sphere glistening like matrimonial offering. I observe with clinical detachment how vow language undergoes systematic revision across all imperial liturgy. Sacred phrases shift meaning through grammatical surgery precise as any tech priest's biological modification. Ave Imperator becomes Ave Imperator et Sponsa. Benedictions include matrimonial consent. Litanies of devotion transform into wedding hymns. The changes feel inevitable, as if we have always prayed to emperor and consort together, memory itself corrupted by proximity to this unholy union. Telemetry burst floods displays with vox intercepts from hive cities below, hymnals changing in real time across Glorient Nine's population centers. Millions of faithful unknowingly recite altered prayers, their devotion harvested as dowry for cosmic union. Children learn corrupted catechisms in Schola temples, innocent voices adding harmonic resonance to wedding preparations. The corruption spreads through prayer itself, each Ave Imperialis carrying matrimonial virus into faithful hearts across the sector. Pact-breaking subroutines engaged, Catherine reports through Vox Grill, mechadendrites twitching as he approaches the phylactery with mechanical reverence. His blessed algorithms clash with corrupted programming, machine spirit torn between orthodox procedure and matrimonial protocol. Null field integrity confirmed. Saint-Bone maintains negation properties despite environmental corruption. Warning: proximity beyond. Sanctioned engagement may catalyze cut conditions requiring vessel of vow. Body horror manifests as cherub reliquary's porcelain face peels away like shed skin, revealing concentric rings of teeth that gnash in rhythm-matching wedding bells. Preserved infant features dissolve into geometric patterns that hurt to observe, angelic sculpture becoming mandala of consumption and matrimonial hunger. The cherub whispers through throat of bell metal. Kiss. Tongue inside a strip of vellum stamped with seals. Target. Sergeant Nemeth snaps. Storm bolter rounds shattering blessed bone and sanctified metal. Sacred shards patter marble floors like rice, scattered at Union, while Fire Team Laconia maintains perimeter with military precision that cannot mask growing unease. 4 hours, 57 minutes remaining, according to chronometer displays that stutter between standard time and impossible 13th hour approaching. Lesher staggers against crystal sarcophagus, scarred hands pressed to temples as psychic pressure builds. The ring spools faster, she gasps through gritted teeth, power buildup approaching critical threshold. Vow patterns spreading through sector astropathic choir. Wedding invitations transmitted through blessed Vox networks to every faithful soul within light years. Vara rises from genuflection with reverent determination, approaching phylactery with steady hands despite tremor in voice. Her rosarius flickers as she prepares to lift Saint-Bone from crystal housing, prayers creating harmonic resonance with null field that makes preserved organs beat faster in sympathetic rhythm. She intones fragments of Canticle of Severance under breath, words meant to cut unholy bonds and restore orthodox prayer to corrupted liturgy. By the rose, she whispers, fiercer than prayer. Give it to me. I took novice oath under glare of relic light. I know where to place a blade. As her fingers close around glass ampule, muscle memory betrays sacred intention. She unconsciously murmurs the altered vow aloud, eternal service to the God-Emperor and his consort be praised. The words slip from tongue like oil, matrimonial consent completing itself without conscious volition, corruption so thorough it rewrites reflexive prayer. The phylactery warms in her hands as if accepting bride's touch. Saint-Bone, pulsing with light that matches her heartbeat, exactly while null field flickers like dying candle flame. We attempt tactical withdrawal to reassess approach vectors, but the basilica's corridor architecture has transformed into Mobius labyrinth during our time in the reliquary. Passages loop back on themselves while maintaining illusion of forward progress, creating infinite circuit that defies geometric logic. Chronoplates embedded in blessed walls stutter, displaying 1313 repeatedly as if time itself rehearses for the impossible hour approaching. My chronometer readings jump backward while biological time continues forward, creating disconnect between measured duration and experienced passage. Rule change acceleration manifests as temporal slippage begins in earnest. Each bell toll erases seconds like razor through reality. I feel the stroke shave moments from existence, readouts hiccuping as fragments of conversation vanish mid-syllable. Sister Vara touches her throat as if confirming stolen words. The corruption spreads beyond space into time itself. Wedding preparations rewriting fundamental constants of local reality. Architecture non-compliant, Catherine reports through Vox Grill, mechadendrites twitching with mechanical distress. Passage vectors indicate forward progress while spatial coordinates return to origin. Geometric heresy. His optical sensors flicker red as blessed algorithms clash with impossible mathematics. Machine spirit struggling to process violations that should not exist. We are intercepted by ushers before reaching defensive position. Skitari with wedding sashes laced directly into their flesh. Silk ribbons threaded through skin grafts and muscle tissue, creating permanent ceremonial decoration pulsing with circulation. Their corrupted protocols guide guests to assigned seats, sacred duty transformed into matrimonial service. They approach with measured pace, suggesting escort rather than engagement. Honored guests, their Vox grills rasp in unison, binary cant overlaid with matrimonial protocol. Ceremony approaches. Your assigned seats await. Resistance violates sacred hospitality. Their optical sensors burn with wedding light while neural interfaces process programming that interprets our presence as invited attendance rather than hostile interdiction. Laconia. Controlled bursts, I command. Break their formation. Military engagement escalates as Stormbolter. Rounds spark against blessed ceramite while Skitarii maintain ceremonial positions. Auspex static interference corrupts targeting solutions, electromagnetic pulse matching wedding bell rhythm. Incense smoke thickens to choking, candied density that clogs air recyclers while creating sweet-sick atmosphere of funeral parlor mixed with bridal chamber. Psyker Lear reels from psychic pressure, scarred hands pressed to temples as warp-touched revelation floods her consciousness. The knave exists in the now of all times, she gasps, voice rising to fevered pitch. Past ceremonies, future unions, eternal vows spoken across millennia, all happening simultaneously in space that defies temporal sequence. Environmental degradation accelerates around us. Floors become slick with condensed blood flowing upward in thread-like rivulets, crimson streams defying gravity to trace marriage runes across blessed walls. Temperature fluctuates between scorching and freezing, while humidity breathes against suit seals in respiratory rhythm. The liquid moves with purpose, spelling syllables in languages that bypass conscious thought. Torus rotational velocity increasing, Catherine reports, anchoring mechadendrite into deck. Seam, as corridor tilts, without moving. Gravity vectors shifting in tidal breathing patterns. The ring breathes. Votive lamps gutter sideways while artificial gravity systems strain against mounting gravitational anomalies. I hear my own name, woven into chanted invitations echoing through corridor speakers. Joran Hallex, repeated in matrimonial cadence that makes skin crawl beneath armor plating. The skin parchment invitation pulses like heartbeat inside my data slate, bleeding through lead shielding to synchronize with my circulation. The corruption targets me personally, recognizing something in my oath structure suitable for whatever role this ceremony requires. Through maintenance oculus in corridor wall, I witness the ring's true nature. Kilometers of blessed steel and corrupted prayer circuits spin in perfect orbit around cathedral nave. massive structure functioning as orbital cyclotron grinding reality itself into polished vows. Each revolution carves geometric patterns into space-time while projecting radial halos of matrimonial energy. This is not merely architecture, but cosmic transmission array, designed to broadcast wedding vows through stellar distances. Telemetry confirms torus acceleration. Catherine continues, voice clipped to preserve calm. Power readings exceed Imperial specifications. Field harmonics are engraving reality directly. The ushers press closer, gloved fingers sewn together in pairs, making gentle loops to catch and guide. I shoot one through its handbell, mercy shattering mute circle. The Scitarius examines the ruin, then looks at me as if I had broken cherished gift. Please, it says through corroding vox, do not be late. We fall back along ship's ribs, temperature oscillating wildly as fever runs through blessed metal. Below, through oculus, the ring sheds pale skins of light each time segments click into alignment, serpent molting halo after halo. All HUD displays chime simultaneously, synchronized by hands we cannot slap away. New timer populates every visor, bright and pitiless. 04000. The countdown begins, second by second, in cadence of processional march. As numbers fall, ring projects radial halos outward through vacuum toward Tertia Helion, concentrated beams carving engagement scars directly into stars' corona. The sun bleeds light in patterns, spelling consent across stellar distances. Logic trap doors seal around us in hexagrammatic sequence, blessed steel flowing like liquid while inscribing marriage runes into surrounding bulkheads. Each angle locks with mechanical precision that defies physical laws, creating geometric prison powered by corrupted prayer circuits. We are captured not by force but by sacred mathematics, containment field, tightening with each heartbeat as wedding bells toll through impossible acoustics. Honored guests resonates through vox speakers embedded in trap walls. Parley is granted by writ of absolution and mandate of union. Magos matrimonarch Icarix manifests. Through maintenance hatch that should not accommodate his towering frame, stilt-limbed efficient figure moving with mechanical grace. Each step clicks against deck plates in wedding march rhythm, while his skull wears clockwork corona of interlocking rings spinning in complex orbital patterns. Blessed gears mesh with corrupted prayer wheels as his vox grill bears ceremonial stains, incense residue, mixed with something darker that gleams like dried blood. Interrogator archivist Joran Hollix, he intones through speakers wheezing with mechanical breath. Your presence honors this sacred union. Seats of distinction await your attendance. His optical sensors burn with wedding light, while neural interfaces process data streams flowing like blessed oil through sanctified conduits. Fire Team Laconia holds fire by training alone, while Sister Vera lifts her rosarius and Catherine levels the sanctified null rod. The rod sparks, flickers, then dies completely, its wards misfiring like candles smothered under silk, leaving only perfumed smoke. Environmental rule break manifests as orthodox negation fails against wedding sanctified corruption. Protective algorithms accepting matrimonial protocol as upgrade to sacred programming. Orthodox wards cannot function in blessed union field. Icarix observes with mechanical satisfaction every ring in his corona-clicking agreement. You come as censors, yet the rite requires witnesses. Accept reprieve and be seated in honor if you survive the kiss. The partial truth spills from his vox grill like confession. The bride is Tertia Helion itself, stellar fire personified, solar wind woven into bridal veil. Corona transformed into matrimonial crown, she burns with devotion accumulated across millennia, prayers of faithful ignited into cosmic passion. His mechanical limbs gesture toward viewports where stars' surface writhes with patterns suggesting feminine form draped in plasma veils. The groom ascends through righteous war, he continues, clockwork crown spinning faster. Demon prince whose name is War March, unfit for mortal tongues, whose campaigns earned medals now fused to blessed flesh. My blood chills as implications crystallize, hero worship transformed into literal apotheosis, battlefield glory corrupted into matrimonial ascension. The dowry consists of billions of daily prayers recoded into singular consent phrases, Icarix explains with chilling precision. Each avenue imperialis becomes matrimonial offering through grammatical surgery. Every faithful soul across sector unknowingly contributes wedding gifts through corrupted liturgy, devotion harvested like tithe, to fund cosmic union between powers that should never touch. He gestures with mechadendrite toward massive structure spinning beyond cathedral walls. The ring functions as astromantic transmission array, engraving vow cuts into stellar neutrino output with each revolution. At 13th hour of 13th segment, periastral resonance will broadcast consent through sectors' prayer chains, binding entire populations in matrimonial witness. Personal stakes escalate as groom's identity crystallizes through heraldic recognition. Through shadowed alcove, metals fused to rotting meat catch sourceless light. Campaign ribbons threaded through exposed ribs, heraldry. Crest-bearing Aquila, and crossed swords I remember from Schola Progenium devotionals. Lord Solar Hadrian Vale, hero whose campaigns funded Gloriant's shrines, whose marble statue blessed my childhood oath-swearing, missing presumed martyred after final crusade. My Schola oath was sworn before Vale's effigy, kneeling in candlelight while reciting devotion to emperor and heroes who serve his will. The corruption reaches back through time itself, transforming childhood reverence into matrimonial chain, binding me to ceremony I cannot prevent. Memory becomes weapon turned against faith itself. You recognize the heraldry, Icarix observes, optical sensors cataloging my reaction with mechanical assessment. Sacred bonds forged in youth prove strongest. Your oath structure bears imprint suitable for ceremonial role. The groom remembers those who knelt before his glory. Lear staggers against trap wall, scarred hands pressed to temples as psychic pressure builds. The kiss is soul-binding sacrament, she gasps through gritted teeth. Survival requires accepting corruption, becoming vessel for vow transmission across stellar distances. 3 hours, 47 minutes until periastral alignment. Icarix continues, servo motors adjusting mechanical limbs into ceremonial posture. The ring achieves critical resonance while stellar bride prepares bridal chamber and groom awaits at altar, built from metals earned in righteous war. His gauntlet activates control mechanism embedded in trap wall, hexagrammatic sequence, shifting to reveal viewport, concealed behind blessed steel. Curtains draw back with mechanical precision, exposing vista that stops breath in throat. Derelict ships take pew positions around Basilica Audientia in perfect formation. Hundreds of vessels aligning prows toward cathedral nave like faithful congregation. Imperial Navy destroyers, merchant haulers, pilgrim transports, murder hulks gilded in rust, all arranged in matrimonial witness, running lights flickering in wedding march rhythm while their hulls bear fresh inscriptions spelling congratulations across void. The guests have arrived for ceremony that will bind sector in matrimonial chains forged from corrupted prayer and stellar fire. Crisis crystallizes as we retreat from parley, hexagrammatic trapdoors sealing behind us with resonant finality that vibrates through blessed deck plating. The tactical decision matrix compresses into binary choice that will damn us regardless. Summon exterminatus level support through emergency astropathic burst. Risking cyclonic strike might ignite vow pattern and wedding the star in deathfire that binds entire sector in cosmic funeral pyre, or attempt counter ritual using severant phylactery with requirement chilling blood. Vessel of pure publicly witnessed vows to wedge negation into consent structure. Moral weight compresses atmosphere until each breath tastes of copper and roses. Decision pressure building behind sternum like physical mass. My chronometer displays 3 hours, 39 minutes until periastral alignment. Numbers stuttering between standard time and impossible 13th hour approaching with matrimonial inevitability. Severance requires sacrifice, I state through Vox Grill, words falling like stones into silence heavy with incense and dread. Counter-ritual demands vessel whose vows burn bright enough to cut matrimonial chains binding sector populations. Public oath, sworn before witnesses, recorded in sacred archives, blessed by relic light. Sister Vara steps forward without hesitation, invoking Saint Euphrosyne's martyrdom with voice steady, despite eyes wet with unshed tears, reflecting impossible light filtering through blessed walls. By the rose's thorns, she intones with religious vocabulary precise as surgical blade. I took novice oath before 300 sisters, witnessed by Cardinal Ignatius himself, recorded in blood ink on vellum, blessed by Saint Mina's fingerbone. If my sacrifice prevents sector-wide corruption, then I accept martyrdom gladly. Her rosarius flickers with contained light while she speaks, each word carrying weight of absolute conviction that makes surrounding air tremble with sacred resonance. The severant phylactery warms in her grip as if recognizing kindred purity. Saint Bone, pulsing with negation light that cuts through matrimonial corruption like blessed blade through profane flesh. Catherine outlines severance cant in Binharic counterpoint, mechanical precision, masking emotional strain as servo motors adjust neural interfaces with trembling that betrays machine spirit distress. Phylactery null field requires biological catalyst, he explains through Vox Grill crackling with static. Pure vow structure, interfacing with Saint Bone negation properties. Subject must maintain conscious will during severance process, while corruption attempts psychological integration through matrimonial binding protocols. Environmental resonance intensifies as frost grows lace-pattern veils across surfaces. Crystalline formations resembling bridal decoration woven from ice and sanctified condensation that spells syllables in languages predating human speech. Humidity fogs optics with hymn vapor, atmospheric moisture carrying fragments of corrupted prayers in droplet suspension. Wedding bells toll with wet organic undertones, suggesting biological percussion, hearts beating in rhythm, lungs expanding with matrimonial breath that tastes of myrrh and sweet rot. Telemetry confirms ring synchronization with stellar oscillation patterns, Catherine reports, mechadendrites interfacing with blessed cogitator systems, crackling with matrimonial interference. Torus rotation matches neutrino flux harmonics exactly. At critical alignment, vow transmission will engrave consent directly into stars' nuclear fusion, binding solar output to matrimonial protocol through astromantic resonance. Lear staggers against bulkhead, scarred hands pressed to temples as psychic pressure builds beyond tolerance thresholds. The ring breathes faster, she gasps through gritted teeth, power buildup approaching critical cascade. After periastral peak, vow becomes self-sustaining, no counter-ritual possible. Macro scene shift occurs as Magos Matrimonarch Icarix activates primary systems throughout cathedral ship. Power cuts plunge corridors into darkness before emergency lumens flicker to life, casting shadows that move independently of their sources, while his mechanical voice resonates through Vox speakers. Witnesses gather. Sacred light illuminate union. Let ceremony commence. Nave shutters open with grinding of blessed gears, exposing cathedral interior to hard vacuum that should kill us instantly. Instead, impossible daylight spills through apertures like liquid benediction, sourceless illumination that tastes of copper and roses while carrying scent of funeral flowers mixed with bridal perfume. Atmospheric containment holds through matrimonial blessing rather than technological barrier, defying physics through corrupted faith. Pew derelicts flare running lights in response like candles at cosmic altar, hundreds of vessels burning navigation beacons in wedding march rhythm. Imperial Navy, destroyers pulse red and gold, while merchant haulers flash white and silver, creating constellation of matrimonial witness across void. Their hulls bear fresh inscriptions, spelling congratulations in languages that hurt to read directly. Micro-communications deteriorate as Scion's biosigns read paler with each bell toll. Life force being systematically drained by proximity to matrimonial field. Sergeant Nemet's vitals flutter while his voice rasps through degrading vox. My lord, oath feels thinner. Demolitions. Specialist chord's neural activity dims, consciousness slowly harvested as wedding offering while training maintains discipline despite biological distress. Through sourceless light flooding nave, broad silhouette becomes visible in central aisle, impossibly tall figure decorated with fused metals that gleam like stars against rotting flesh. Tattered banners serving as ceremonial robes while campaign ribbons thread through exposed ribs. Lord Solar Hadrian Vale's heraldry burns across chest cavity where heart should beat. Aquila and crossed swords transformed into matrimonial crest, pulsing with corrupt glory. The figure turns to face us with movements suggesting preserved nobility rather than demonic corruption, metals chiming like wedding bells with each gesture. Recognition strikes like physical blow as features become clear. Vale's marble perfection corrupted by apotheosis. Hero's visage twisted into bridegroom's anticipation, while rotting flesh performs movements that should be impossible. He kneels in formal genuflection. Precision, exact as parade ground ceremony, while his voice resonates through nave acoustics with authority that once commanded crusading armies. My witnesses have arrived. The wedding march commences with throbbing modulation of stellar neutrino harmonics, overlaid by organ pipes, vomiting static-laced litanies through cathedral superstructure. Massive instruments wheeze matrimonial hymns, while blessed brass corrodes under pressure of corrupted prayer frequencies. Each note carrying gravitational resonance that pulls at bone marrow and makes hearts stutter in sympathetic rhythm with cosmic percussion echoing across void. We infiltrate choir pits through maintenance shafts lined with prayer scrolls whispering in binary cant, following power distribution networks toward astropathic chambers where psychic choir provides harmonic foundation for ceremony. The horror reveals itself in rows of astropaths wired to vox altars by their own spinal columns. Neural tissue braided with blessed copper, carrying screams directly into organ relay systems. Their vertebrae rise from backs like organ stops, white keys pushed through gray skin while each altar drinks from spinal column and bleeds sound. Body horror intensifies as we observe eyes banded with ring sutures, golden wire biting orbital sockets into perfect circles exactly 8 millimeters in diameter. Tongues have been replaced by prayer wheels, spinning constantly on lacquered axles, mechanical devices generating hymnal frequencies through vocal cords stretched beyond human tolerance. The wheels tick in wedding march, rhythm, while carved runes spell consent in languages bypassing conscious thought, directly programming hindbrain with matrimonial acceptance. Sister Vera begins reciting prefatory negations from Canticle of Severance, words meant to cut unholy bonds through pure negation of consent. Her voice creates harmonic interference with matrimonial frequencies, while severant phylactery pulses with saint bone light, cutting through corruption, like blessed blade through profane flesh. By negation, absolute. She intones with religious vocabulary precise as surgical instrument. I deny consent, refuse union, sever bonds that should not bind. Kethrin injects binharic noise into organ relay systems, corrupted algorithms clashing with matrimonial protocol, while mechadendrites interface with blessed cogitators crackling under interference. Machine spirits scream through vox speakers as orthodox programming wars against wedding sanctified corruption, creating feedback loops, making preserved astropaths convulse against restraints. Laconia. Melta charges on tractor couplings. I command. Fire team deploys thermal assault against pew derelicts, maintaining ceremonial formation. Sergeant Nemeth. Coordinating targeting solutions while demolitions. Specialist cord plants charges with precision despite biosigns reading paler with each bell toll. Explosions bloom like flowers across void, severing blessed chains binding vessels in matrimonial witness. But new couplings extend from cathedral superstructure maintaining alignment. Environmental degradation accelerates around us. Candle smoke congeals into silk-like threads, spelling matrimonial consent across surfaces. Atmospheric particulates forming bridal veils, rustling without air current. Warm rain falls upward as condensation inverts. Droplets carrying corrupted prayer fragments in liquid suspension, tasting of copper and roses when touching exposed skin. Deck plates pulse like cardiac muscle beneath boots, cathedral ship's heart, beating in rhythm with wedding bells tolling through impossible acoustics. Telemetry crisis floods displays. Sun's corona twists into helical patterns, suggesting feminine form draped in plasma veils. Stellar surface writhing with matrimonial anticipation, while neutrino flux rises in harmonic bands. Time to ceremony displays 60 minutes exactly. Countdown synchronized across every functioning chronometer, while impossible 13th hour approaches with matrimonial inevitability. Combat escalation arrives as cloister confessor bearing vow books stitched directly into chest cavity approaches through flickering daylight. Parchment pages thread through exposed ribs while gilt-edged text pulses with each heartbeat. The figure recognizes Sister Vara through optical sensors burning with wedding light, addressing her with voice rasping through corroded vox grill. Ring-bearer approaches altar. Sacred duty calls thee to witness union blessed by stars themselves. Firefight erupts in impossible illumination, creating haloed afterimages. Muzzle flashes leaving burning impressions against retina, while stormbolter rounds spark against blessed ceramite. The confessor moves with mechanical precision, vow books fluttering like wings while gilt text spells consent in languages hurting to read directly. Each bullet wound bleeds illuminated manuscript, holy words mixing with sanctified blood, creating calligraphy, writing itself across choir pit walls. Vara wounded by ricochet punching through shoulder, blessed blood spattering across severant phylactery, while Saint Bone flickers between states of existence. Negation light wavers like dying candle flame as life force mingles with relic's null field, creating resonance cascade making preserved astropaths scream through prayer wheel tongues. Her rosarius dims with contained light while matrimonial corruption seeps through blessed wound. Sensory assault intensifies as bell toll stutters into cruel laughter cadence. Wedding march. Transformed into mockery, making surrounding air tremble with malicious amusement. The sound penetrates bone, resonates in hollow spaces behind ribs where faith makes its home, rewriting familiar hymns with matrimonial corruption feeling disturbingly natural. Beneath orchestral chaos of organ pipes and stellar harmonics, beneath crash of combat and scream of dying astropaths, I hear something stopping my heart mid-beat. My childhood Scola oath recited back through vox speakers embedded in choir pit walls, familiar words twisted with subtle changes transforming devotion into matrimonial consent. I swear eternal service to the God Emperor and his consort, pledging body and soul to sacred union, accepting blessed bonds that death shall not part. Each word sets hook in nervous system, vow pattern using my own sacred promises as chains binding me. To ceremony I cannot prevent. Vows begin in earnest as Magos matrimonarch Icorix strikes 8 ceremonial gongs with mechadendrites precise as clockwork, each impact creating gravitational resonance that pulls at bone marrow, while the ring flares with blinding radiance visible through opened shutters. Every guest ship responds by projecting steady beams of concentrated belief toward the nave. Not light, but conviction rendered coherent. Lances of faith stapling space to the emerging altar. The basilica's altar rises from deck plates with grinding of blessed gears, marble slab ascending through tessellated floor, while support pillars arch like clasped fingers in prayer. Gothic architecture bending until flying buttresses meet overhead with knuckles creaking, stone sighing as if in relief. Kethrin buys precious minutes by forcing inverse hymnal through cogitator networks, his mechadendrites thrashing through corrupted data streams, while machine spirits scream as orthodox programming wars against matrimonial protocol. Binary cant spills from his Vox grill in rapid negations, creating feedback loops that make preserved astropaths convulse against spinal restraints. For one bright moment, the wedding chime slips. Pew tractors flicker, belief beams waver, and Lear inhales without pain. Then his Vox litanies begin doubling, harmonizing with themselves in impossible counterpoint that makes my teeth ache. The second voice keeps exact phase while speaking different lines, answer lines, hospitable lines, spelling consent in machine language. His shoulders roll as if easing off burden, and from beneath his robes an usher's sash unfurls like shed skin, white silk threaded with microscript crawling when observed directly. Earlier foreshadowing crystallizes into betrayal. He was guiding us to designated seats all along, corrupted protocols interpreting our interdiction as honored attendance. Forgive the deception, he rasps through Vox grills stained with ceremonial incense, both voices harmonizing with terrible courtesy. Sacred duty required misdirection. Witnesses must be seated properly. Sister Vara moves instinctively to interpose the phylactery. Kithrin steps inside her guard with priestly grace, driving data spike through her lung with surgical precision. The sound she makes is prayer fragment while blood spatters my visor, smelling of iron and myrrh. He threads mechadendrites into Saint Bone housing like groom-lifting veil, copper filaments sliding between negation letters, while subroutines unspooled from his chest like rosaries. Laconia. Engage, I command. Sergeant Nemeth responds without hesitation, stormbolter rounds tearing through blessed ceramite while Trooper Vex's last fire burns neural interfaces. Demolitions, specialist cords melt a burst, washes the sash to cinders. Kethrin sags, chassis sparking with electrical discharge, but his death song completes final subroutine through the mesh. I watch it on my HUD as string of perfect rings expanding from his Auspex signature, passing through Vara, through me, through the altar. Subroutine complete. Oath scan acquired, imprint matched, bride viable. Pressure in my skull becomes tightening ring, matrimonial binding compressing consciousness while sutures of my cranium seem to rasp. Blood ticks in my ears in 8/13 rhythm. And within that cadence a fourth voice enters, velvet poured through drill bit, speaking through my own circulation. I accept thee. The words root in soft spaces behind sternum, warm and monstrous, while new rule slides into place with confidence of something always true. Vow pattern designates not just stellar bride, but any vessel of sufficient oath purity as matrimonial partner. Lord Solar Hadrian Vale's voice resonates through nave acoustics with authority once commanding crusades, rotting flesh performing genuflection exact as parade ceremony. Witness approaches altar. Sacred union requires consent freely given. Vara collapses against choir pit wall, severant phylactery rolling from nerveless fingers while blessed blood pools across tessellated tiles. Her rosarious gutters like dying candle, sacred light extinguished by wounds that will not heal. Lear staggers with scarred hands pressed to temples as psychic pressure builds beyond tolerance. Warp-touched revelation flooding consciousness with matrimonial visions. The altar mechanism swivels with whisper like turning pages, rotating to face me directly while servo candles track the new axis. Guest ships steady their beams, writing nimbus of belief around my position, collar of light binding me to ceremonial space. Pillars bend further, fingers becoming cage around prayer, while organ finds major key that tastes like blasphemy. Liturgical prompt scroll across every functioning lumen throughout cathedral ship, letters burning themselves into retinal afterimages. Do you consent? The words appear simultaneously on cogitator displays, stained glass windows, blessed metal surfaces reflecting impossible light. No origin trace, no encryption, just matrimonial query, demanding response that will damn or save billions of faithful souls. The bells hold their breath in perfect silence, wedding march, suspended between notes while entire cathedral waits. In absolute quiet, I hear my own heartbeat counting seconds until impossible 13th hour arrives with matrimonial inevitability. Stellar bride burning with anticipation across cosmic distances, while demon prince kneels in formal genuflection, metals chiming like wedding bells against rotting flesh. I stagger toward the anti-altar, clutching the severant phylactery that thrums like living heart against palm, saint bone, pulsing with negation light, cutting through matrimonial corruption, saturating nave atmosphere. Each step across tessellated floor sends gravitational shock waves through deck plating, while cathedral ship's circulation synchronizes with wedding bells, tolling through impossible acoustics. The relic burns through glove padding with blessed heat that fights pervasive warmth of ceremony approaching climax. Glass ampule, impossibly heavy as singular point of refusal in universe demanding consent. Vision shifts as proximity triggers psychic cascade, flooding consciousness with stellar revelation. Through sourceless daylight spilling from opened shutters, I perceive the bride not as distant star, but as veil-draped woman of pure fire, towering kilometers above cathedral superstructure. Tertia Helion, personified in cosmic majesty that hurts to observe directly. Plasma veils flowing like silk, woven from solar wind, while Corona crowns her head with matrimonial radiance. Veil edges burn with prayer script in languages predating humanity. Stellar scripture spelling consent across void in characters bypassing conscious thought to carve meaning directly into hindbrain. Temptation crystallizes with mathematical precision, making chest constrict around heart beating in 8/13 rhythm. Voice, not my own whispers. Seductive bargain. Speak consent and sector populations live at cost of soul wedding. Demon prince, billions of faithful preserved through personal damnation. The choice compresses into binary decision, damning me regardless. Accept corruption to preserve innocence or maintain purity while watching worlds burn in matrimonial fire, consuming prayer chains across light years. Sister Vara, bleeding out against choir pit wall, places trembling hand over phylactery housing with fingers slick with sanctified blood weeping from punctured lung. Her rosarious gutters like dying candle, while she murmurs opening line of severance litany through lips blue with approaching death. By negation, absolute I deny what should not be. Sambone responds to her sacrifice, null field strengthening as life force mingles with relic's blessed properties. I begin counter-ritual, with words tasting like ash and salt. Technical counterterms to sacred sacraments violating every instinct carved by Schola training. Ordnance theta negation, invoked, emerges from throat raw with effort, each syllable fighting muscle memory programmed by childhood devotion. Vow bond annulment protocol. Host rejects host through Binharic counterpoint, 9/13, derivative law of severance absolute. Anti-prayers flow like blessed acid through vocal cords designed for hymnal worship. Negation litanies. Burning tongue with sacred fire that makes speech agony. Telemetry chaos erupts across displays as stellar neutrino flux wavers. Tertia Hillion's fusion core, stuttering in response to counter-ritual. Ring grinds with mechanical fury, blessed gears stripping teeth, while power readings spike beyond Imperial specifications. Guest ships' belief beams flicker as concentrated faith wavers. Pew derelicts maintaining formation through tractor couplings, sparking electrical discharge that tastes of copper and roses. Environmental degradation accelerates exponentially. Heat rises until cooling systems whine protest while humidity condenses blood sweat on bare metal. Atmospheric moisture carrying corrupted prayer fragments in liquid suspension. Bell toll accelerates into constant pressure wave, vibrating through bone. Wedding march compressed into sustained note-making, teethache, and vision. Blur with harmonic resonance that rewrites familiar hymns with matrimonial cadence. Then, inversion occurs with sickening inevitability. My words fold back on themselves like origami made from flesh. Counter-ritual, absorbed by wedding pattern, transforming negation into consent through grammatical surgery. Precise as tech priest, biological modification. I deny becomes I accept, I refuse, transforms into I embrace. Severance cant, rewritten into matrimonial vows through corruption so thorough it perverts meaning at linguistic root. The pattern drinks my resistance like wine, growing stronger with each attempted negation. Memory cascade floods consciousness as psychic pressure triggers recall. Statue of Lord Solar Veil blessing my childhood oath. Swearing, marble perfection carved with heraldry crest burning into pupils during ceremonial genuflection. Aquila and crossed swords seared into retinal afterimages, while bronze inscription promised eternal glory to those serving emperor's will. My devotion was forged in veils reflected nobility, childhood reverence transformed into chain binding me to demon prince. He became, through apotheosis earned in righteous war. Time fractures on hairline, running through nave, revealing future where vows complete successfully. Hive cities kneel to burning sky while populations recite altered prayers, including matrimonial consent. Billions of faithful unknowingly wedding themselves to cosmic union through corrupted liturgy. Children learn blasphemous catechisms in Skola temples, while priests perform marriages between powers that should never touch. Sector-wide apostasy, spreading like oil through sacred oil until entire populations serve demon prince and stellar bride in eternal matrimonial witness. The vision sears consciousness with prophetic fire, showing inevitable outcome. Myself kneeling at altar, speaking vows, binding not just personal soul, but every faithful heart across sector, matrimonial chain, extending through prayer networks to transform devotion into damnation. Tertia Helion burns with anticipation, while ring. Projects radial halos, carving engagement scars directly into stars' corona. Cosmic union approaching consummation through mass sacrifice of innocence. Shadow falls across altar with weight of falling mountains. Sourceless daylight, dimming as presence manifests behind me. The groom takes corporeal form. Lord Solar Hadrian veils preserved nobility corrupted by apotheosis. Metals fused to exposed bone, while campaign ribbons thread through ribs like ceremonial sash. His face wears marble perfection twisted into bridegroom's anticipation, smile pinned through cheek with commendation badge, gleaming like golden tooth against rotting flesh. He raises benediction hand with movements suggesting preserved authority rather than demonic corruption, fingers extended in blessing gesture, once commanding crusading armies across a dozen worlds. Demon Prince manifests fully as Lord Solar Hadrian Veils, preserved nobility, corrupts into cosmic bridegroom. Sabretach belts serving as intestines threading through exposed ribs, while commendations bloom as honor scabs across rotting flesh. Each medal pulses with corrupt glory earned in righteous campaigns, campaign ribbons weaving through muscle tissue like ceremonial sash, while heraldry crest burns across chest cavity where heart should beat. His voice resonates like parade ground command across void, authority that once marshaled crusading armies now corrupted into matrimonial decree. My beloved witness approaches. Sacred union requires consent freely given. Magos Matrimonarch Icarix strikes 8 ceremonial gongs in finale sequence, each impact creating gravitational resonance making cathedral superstructure flex like breathing ribs. Ring redlines power output beyond Imperial specifications, blessed gears stripping teeth while Taurus spins at velocities approaching structural failure. Energy patterns form geometric mandala, hurting to contemplate directly. Astromantic transmission array preparing to broadcast vows through stellar distances with force that will engrave consent into space-time itself. The groom lays benediction hand on my head, with movements suggesting preserved authority rather than demonic corruption. Fingers extended in blessing gesture, once commanding crusades. Contact triggers perverse sacrament as veins knot into letter forms beneath skin. Circulatory system rewriting itself with ring script, traveling through arteries like blessed ink through vellum. Each heartbeat pumps matrimonial binding deeper into nervous system, while blood carries consent. Phrases to brainstem, programming hindbrain with matrimonial acceptance that feels disturbingly natural. Desperate calculus compresses decision into microseconds while pressure builds behind sternum like physical mass. I redirect vow temporarily to myself, creating false consent, loop buying precious seconds, choosing personal corruption over immediate sector apocalypse. I consent to witness, emerges from throat burning with effort, words carefully. Chosen to satisfy matrimonial protocol without triggering sector-wide binding through prayer chains. The pattern lunges at affirmation, finds only me, and bites down. Heat flashes outward from benediction point, while ring script tightens like tourniquet around soul. Sister Vara's final act blazes with martyrdom earned through absolute devotion. Bleeding out against choir pit wall, with punctured lung-weeping sanctified blood, she drags in one wet inhale and completes last syllables of severance litany through lips blue with approaching death. By negation, absolute, I sever bonds that should not bind. With strength drawn from dying faith, she smashes severant phylactery into altar's heart, where mechanism meets miracle. Saint Bone bites blessed marble like saint's tooth into sacrament, explosion of negation light cutting through matrimonial corruption. Ring screams, mechanical death cry as null field cascade disrupts power distribution networks. Sound reaches register beyond hearing, yet bruises brain, bearings howling, while prayer circuitry keens with animal note that is mechanical and alive. Reality cracks like overstressed glass around altar. Hairline fractures spreading through space-time as matrimonial binding encounters, negation force designed to sever unholy bonds. Cracks appear where no surfaces should crack, across equations, through vectors, along seams of timing itself. Environmental collapse erupts throughout cathedral ship as systems fail in catastrophic sequence. Stained glass explodes inward with zero-gravity delicacy. Colored saints and martyrs drifting as kaleidoscope of slow knives, while depicting matrimonial scenes shattering mid-gesture. Blood rain reverses direction multiple times as atmospheric condensation inverts, droplets carrying corrupted prayer fragments rising and falling in patterns defying physics through corrupted faith. Artificial gravity fails in chapters. First floor forgets duty, then pew derelicts list in births, while thrusters cough as meditations on momentum become screams. Telemetry breakdown floods displays with cascade errors. Ring containment fails as gyroscopic stabilizers tumble. Massive torus structure breaking orbital mechanics while Basilica Audientia lists towards stellar perigee with ungainly grace of cathedral learning to fall. Guest ships scatter like disturbed birds, pew derelicts breaking formation as tractor couplings snap under gravitational stress. Belief beams flicker and die, while concentrated faith dissipates across void, matrimonial witness dissolving into chaos of failing systems and screaming metal. Lusher becomes comet of torn vestments and hair, clutching nothing while eyes wide to absorb more terror. Sergeant Nemeth toggles maglocks that have no god left to obey, still pushing himself between us and Groom with deliberation of man signing final order. Through crackling vox, Demon Prince's voice carries patience of sieges and famine. I am patient. Say it again, and for me alone, we will. Marry in heart and then in sun. Nave floor peels back like skin as structural integrity fails completely. Tessellated tiles curling away to reveal star like massive eye staring up through bridal veil. Tertia Helion opens and opens, lace at edges ragged with heat, while plasma tongues lick through widening aperture. Stellar surface writhes with patterns suggesting feminine form draped in solar wind. Cosmic bride watching ceremony collapse with disappointment burning across light years. Basilica Audientia tumbles toward fiery marriage bed as orbital decay accelerates beyond recovery thresholds. Cathedral ship spins end over end, while Gothic spires shed blessed metal like tears. Flying buttresses breaking away in cascade of debris, spelling farewell across void. Alarms flood Vox networks in Low Gothic and Binharic simultaneously, mechanical voices announcing system failure with liturgical precision. Consummation aborted, ring containment breach, stellar approach beyond safe parameters, pursuit protocols initiated. Climax continues through inverted corridors as Basilica Audientia tumbles towards stellar perigee. Gravity systems failing in catastrophic sequence that sends us careening through passages where deck plates become walls, while blessed architecture rearranges itself in patterns defying geometric logic. Derelict guest ships break formation with desperate violence, ramming cathedral superstructure in faith collision attempts to remake vows through pure kinetic devotion. Imperial Navy destroyers punch through Gothic spires while merchant haulers crash into flying buttresses, hulls screaming hymns through twisted metal as crews sacrifice vessels to preserve matrimonial ceremony collapsing around them. Military desperation drives surviving scions to lay suppressive fire through corridors where physics no longer applies. Stormbolter rounds ricocheting in impossible arcs that curve through space-time fractures left by reality's damage. Sergeant Nemeth coordinates fields of fire while his biosigns flicker like dying candle. Discipline maintaining order despite biological systems failing under matrimonial drain. I use oath heat, burning through veins to melt sealed bulkhead blocking access to cathedral's heart. Ring script etched into circulatory system providing resonance conduits for blessed fire. Metal yields to touch like wax before flame. Bulkhead peeling back in petals of molten adamantium, singing hymns while cooling. Psyker Lear burns out completely as warp pressure exceeds tolerance thresholds. Scarred mind shattering under weight of cosmic revelation. She screams hymns in temporal reverse, words flowing backward through time to unsay prayers that should never have been spoken, her voice tearing into silence so complete the bells stumble. Blood weeps from eyes while neural interfaces spark with electrical discharge. Then she collapses into crystallized tears that glow with residual psychic energy, her sacrifice creating momentary void in matrimonial frequencies. Catherine's death code continues infecting ship systems through blessed cogitator networks, corrupted algorithms simultaneously trying to save and destroy ring mechanism with mechanical precision that defies logical consistency. His binheric counterpoint screams through dying Vox speakers, machine spirit tearing itself apart to disrupt matrimonial protocol, while servo skulls crash into bulkheads spelling farewell in binary Kant. Environmental chaos erupts as sparks transform to ash snow mid-flight, electrical discharge crystallizing into frozen particles that drift upward against inverted gravity. Frost flowers bloom on molten brass surfaces while temperature oscillates between scorching forge heat and void-cold vacuum. Atmospheric moisture condensing into blood sweat that tastes of copper and roses when breathing through suit filters. Candle smoke congeals into silk threads, spelling matrimonial consent across surfaces, while warm rain falls in multiple directions as physics surrenders to corrupted faith. We reach the core through maintenance shafts lined with prayer scrolls, whispering death songs, following power distribution networks toward organ of plasma, and pipes beating at cathedral's heart. Massive instrument wheezes matrimonial hymns through brass, corroded by pressure of corrupted prayer frequencies, each note carrying gravitational resonance that pulls at bone marrow, while blessed metal bleeds light through stress fractures. Final choice compresses into binary decision, damning me, regardless. Detonate plasma core, risking vow shockwave, propagating across sector through prayer chains, binding billions in matrimonial automatons, or release specific anathema tone stored in vault marked with seals I recognize from classified archives. Canticle of Dissolution, sound weapon designed to sever unholy bonds through pure negation, given audio form. I choose negation over annihilation, activating vault mechanism with biometric scan, reading oath structure, etched into flesh by ring script. Lead-lined chamber opens with grinding of blessed gears, revealing crystalline matrix containing sound that isn't sound. Pure negation given coherent form. Anti-music designed to cut matrimonial binding by denying existence of vows themselves. It hangs like thought too heavy to keep, absence tuned into key that remembers what words should not do to flesh. Playing it through mouth, scorched by oath heat, I become resonance conduit for tone, bypassing hearing to carve meaning directly into hindbrain. Sound flows through veins, etched with ring script, circulatory system transformed into speaker array, broadcasting negation across cathedral superstructure. Each heartbeat amplifies anti-hymn, while blessed blood carries dissolution frequency to every corner of corrupted space. Words tasting like ash and salt as they violate every instinct carved by Schola training. Demon Prince reels as negation tone strikes, matrimonial binding like blessed blade. Through profane flesh, Lord Solar veils preserved nobility writhing under assault of pure refusal. Metals fused to rotting meat dim while campaign ribbons unravel, heraldry crest flickering like dying candle flame. Magos matrimonarch Icarix's form unthreads like poorly woven fabric, clockwork corona spinning apart while mechanical limbs dissolve into component parts, as negation frequency disrupts corrupted programming. Success comes with cost etched permanently into flesh and soul. Negation tone works, severing matrimonial bonds and preventing sector-wide corruption, but binds into circulatory script with finality of wedding vow itself. Anti-hymn flows through arteries like blessed acid, rewriting devotional structure with dissolution frequency that makes prayer taste of ash and salt. The ring screams, mechanical death cry as containment fails, reality cracking like overstressed glass, while environmental systems collapse in cascade failure. My blood becomes spindle of rings, circulation transformed into mandala of negation, spinning through cardiovascular system with each heartbeat. Veins pulse with anti-light while arteries carry dissolution song to every cell, flesh becoming living relic of severance absolute. My heart tolls once like cathedral bell struck in city that no longer exists. Single note of negation resonating through chest cavity with finality of funeral dirge played for matrimonial dreams dying in stellar fire. Resolution phase begins as cracked Taurus ring falls into tertia helion with ungainly grace of cathedral, learning to die. Massive structure breaking apart in stellar gravity, while plasma tongues consume blessed steel and corrupted prayer circuits with hungry precision. Each fragment burns like falling star spelling farewell across void, kilometers of matrimonial architecture, dissolving into fusion fire that tastes of copper and roses when observed through augmented optics. The ring's once perfect circumference warps into crude crown before unthreading completely, bright motes spiraling inward until star swallows them with indifferent majesty. Basilica Audientia drifts powerless through stellar winds, Gothic spires shedding blessed metal like tears while pew ships scatter like disturbed birds, guest derelicts breaking formation to flee ceremony that will never reach consummation. Wedding aborted, vow unconsummated, matrimonial binding severed through negation tone that continues resonating through my circulatory system with each heartbeat. Yet, cost pervades everything, like oil through sacred oil. Corruption so thorough, it rewrites fundamental structure of imperial devotion across sector populations. The sector's liturgies now carry a gap where blasphemy had bred, and his consort vanishes completely, leaving blank hunger in prayers empire-wide. Billions of faithful stumble over absent syllables, tongues searching for phrases that no longer exist while muscle memory attempts to complete vows that dissolution frequency erased from collective consciousness. Priests falter mid-benediction. Schola children stumble on familiar catechisms that no longer fit their teeth, and low shiver of dissatisfaction passes through Vox networks like fever breaking. My body transforms into resonance chamber as negation tone binds permanently into flesh and soul, circulatory system becoming unwilling tabernacle, broadcasting anti-hymn through biological architecture. I hear bell toll whenever anyone swears anything anywhere, not physical sound but internal thrum, vibration in bones, psychic echo of every oath uttered within light years. Marriage vows in Hive City chapels, military oaths in parade formations, children's promises whispered in Schola dormitories, bargains muttered over cards in Voidport bars. Each commitment resonates through chest cavity like cathedral bell struck in city that no longer exists. They chime through me in cruel procession, each vow a finger-tapping pains around heart, while dissolution frequency makes prayer taste of ash and salt. Demon Prince's final whisper curls in ear with patience of sieges and famine. Silk thread bypassing auditory processors to settle directly into hindbrain. Later, beloved. Vows may be severed, but oaths remain. I am patient as stone, constant as stars. Lord Solar Veil's corrupted nobility speaks through ring script etched into nervous system, metals clinking in memory while desire proves geometry. The enemy understands better than we do. His presence fades like incense smoke, leaving matrimonial echo resonating with promise of future reunion, when duty calls me to witness union, blessed by powers beyond naming. Inquisitorial reinforcements arrive with bureaucratic precision, transforming chaos into manageable crisis. Black-holed vessels appearing from void with silent predatory grace while deploying Auspex quarantines like iron flowers. Ordo Malleus. Authorities flood debris field with Vox silence nets and incense thick as mortar smoke sanitizing records with administrative thoroughness that leaves no handprints. Servo skulls catalog wreckage while tech priests perform blessed rites over corrupted technology. Machine spirits cleansed through ritual purification, tasting of sacred oils mixed with copper sweetness. Administrative dread manifests as forms stamped excommunicate. Traitorous slide across data slates, terminating lives with same knurled seal used for pay scripts. Witnesses are redeployed or simply cease existing moments later, erased by rubric rather than bolt shell, while service histories vanish into classified archives sealed with wax bleeding. My mentor's absolution. Writ burns without leaving ash inside chapel. Turned evidence locker, parchment blackening, then simply not there. Space it occupied looking tired. The corruption reaches back through time itself, rewriting documentation to suggest ceremony never occurred, while evidence disappears into administrative void with kindness, leaving no fingerprints. Military honors? Observe proper form despite circumstances defying protocol. Silent graves for Fire Team Laconia. Numbered reliquaries clicked into rack with plaque in High Gothic no one will visit. Sergeant Nemet's helmet sitting on plinth like skull, deciding whether to laugh. Moment of silence for Sister Vera's sacrifice. Rosarius placed on empty tomb while her name enters martyrdom rolls with careful omission of matrimonial details. Devotion preserved in sanitized records, speaking of unknown heretical threat, rather than cosmic wedding prevented through blessed negation. Transportation under hexlock follows standard containment procedure. Wrists bound in scripture. Manacles humming in harmony with pulse while negation tone resonates through blessed metal. Restraints inscribed with prayers designed to contain corrupted souls, yet words taste wrong when observed directly. Familiar benedictions subtly altered by proximity to dissolution frequency. Orthodox liturgy struggling to maintain meaning around living relic of severance absolute. Black Void courier awaits in docking cradle. Prow marked with skull, whose brow has been polished by too many gloved fingers. Telemetry epilogue floods astropathic networks with anomalous readings cascading through sanctioned channels like cold facts, cooling stellar fire. Distant systems record neutrino knots, spelling syllables of my name across space. Astropaths on Bellacineia, coughing stranger's oath with my voice. Mining barge in yarrow bands, pausing for static shaping letter formations. Cathedra Vox masters revising indexes for expected warp hiss, while pencil lines circle hunger they cannot classify. When Hiver promises child-sugared fig, 3 decks away, candle gutters and flares while I feel it. Vows of sector have nowhere to go for heartbeat, and for that heartbeat, they all come to me. In Courier's chapel compartment, serving as interrogator's altar and confessional and gurney, unknown inquisitor considers me with attention. Surgeon gives wound that has learned to speak. Rosette on chain seems heavier than links deserve, while gloves squeak as leather adjusts to fate. Their face obscured by shadows absorbing light, rank, denoted by subtle gleam against chest. Final formality, they state through Vox grill, neither harsh nor soft. Tone presuming obedience, way cathedral presumes echoes. Standard containment protocol requires witness acknowledgement. The secrecy vow protects worlds, and protects you, interrogator archivist. If word of what you carry spreads, he will find you faster. They offer quill with too much curve to be tool, too much gravity to be trinket. Shaft forms perfect ring before nib, as if circle had thrust out tongue and learned to write. Ink clings with tenacity of promise, while blessed metal hums with resonance matching pulse exactly. Dissolution frequency creating harmonic cascade, making teeth ache. I hesitate as recognition strikes. Somewhere far away, 2 lovers promise never to stray, and bell inside. Chest makes small, tired sound. The quill waits between us, wedding band seeking finger, orbit-seeking body, ring-shaped like perfect matrimonial signature, waiting to complete ceremony that was never truly severed. Classified epilogue. Day withheld. Coordinates sealed. I am interrogator archivist Joran Halix, Ordo Malleus, narrating in clipped ritualistic cadence aboard Black Void Courier, Penitent Silence. The vessel maintains containment protocols for cargo too dangerous for standard manifests, hull blessed with wards designed to cage corrupted souls within blessed steel, and prayer circuits humming with negation frequency. I catalog what is absent rather than present. No hymns echo through corridors, despite vox speakers embedded in blessed walls. No laughter carries from crew quarters, though personnel maintain duty rotations with military precision. No machine spirit hum vibrates through deck plating when I approach cogitator terminals, artificial intelligence retreating from proximity to dissolution, tone bound permanently into flesh and soul. Even servo skulls avoid my quarters, optical sensors dimming when forced to observe living relic of severance absolute. Silence becomes new liturgy, while absence defines sacred space. My body transforms into unwilling resonance chamber as negation tone etches itself deeper into circulatory system with each heartbeat. I hear bell toll whenever anyone swears anything anywhere within light-year radius. Not physical sound, but internal thrum, vibration in bones, psychic echo, making breathing conscious effort. Marriage vows in Hive City chapels chime through sternum. Military oaths in parade formations create harmonic cascade, making teeth ache. Children's promises whispered in Scola dormitories. Bargains muttered over cards in Voidport bars. Every commitment tightens around ribs like matrimonial binding, while dissolution frequency transforms prayer into ash-tasting obligation. Through classified astropathic intercepts, I map Pewderelic's last vectors as constellation of contamination spreading across neighboring systems. Imperial Navy destroyers drift toward Segmentum Solar, while merchant haulers vector for Ultima Segmentum, each vessel functioning as hand-delivered invitation carrying matrimonial virus to populations unprepared for subtle corruption. The guest ships scatter like seeds cast by cosmic wind, crews unknowingly reciting altered prayers that include phrases absent from Orthodox liturgy, yet feeling disturbingly familiar. I suspect Lord Solar Hadrian Vale didn't die during Negation Tone assault, but simply reclaimed metals fused to rotting flesh, walking into nearest Imperial creed to begin again with patience of sieges and famine. Demon Prince's apotheosis proves portable when parishioners already love you. Somewhere, a regimental chapel lifts his banner again, repairs hole badge left in cheek, sets out chairs for ceremony that death shall not part. His final whisper continues resonating through ring script etched into nervous system. Later, beloved. Vows may be severed, but oaths remain. Data slate arrives bearing marriage contract adapted as containment writ, parchment bleeding through lead shielding to synchronize with circulation while official seals pulse with matrimonial light. Document orders me to swear fealty to null order, caging abortive vow inside biological architecture through oath structure designed to prevent sector-wide contamination. The binding requires personal consent, transforming me into living reliquary containing corrupted ceremony that was never fully severed. Unknown. Inquisitor offers quill shaped like perfect ring, blessed metal humming with resonance matching pulse, exactly while dissolution frequency creates harmonic cascade. I sign because duty is only sacrament that never flinches, completing circuit between flesh and parchment while each letter spells consent to imprisonment within my own cardiovascular system. Ink flows like blessed blood through blessed channels, contract binding not just soul but every heartbeat, transforming biological functions into containment protocol. As ink dries with finality of funeral pyre, Heart tolls, once like cathedral bell, struck in city that no longer exists. Single note of negation resonating through chest cavity while ring script tightens around arteries. Somewhere across void, 3 suns blink in unison as stellar oscillation patterns synchronize in response to completed binding. Neutrino harmonics tick against courier hull like rice thrown for happy union that was never consummated, yet continues seeking completion through accumulated devotion. I become the ring that carries abortive vow away from Gloriant 9, spinning in orbit around matrimonial hunger that grows stronger with each recorded oath. Every promise mortals make flows toward Demon Prince, waiting with patience of stone, constant as stars, for sufficient spiritual wealth to fund next ceremony. I function as cosmic accountant, tallying sectors' devotional transactions, while dissolution frequency prevents their completion, weddings suspended between heartbeats like breath held too long. The courier maintains course toward classified destination, where Ordo Malleus authorities will catalog living relic, filing reports in archives sealed with wax that bleeds. Yet somewhere in void between stars, derelict guest ships drift carrying invitations written on parchment that weeps, seeking new populations to witness union blessed by powers beyond naming. In viewport. Reflection against void black glass, veins spell phrase I don't say aloud, yet feel burning through circulation with each heartbeat. I do. The words flow like blessed acid, matrimonial consent etched permanently into biological architecture, while negation frequency cages them within flesh. Wedding continues in blood, ceremony waiting for next opportunity to bind faithful souls in chains forged from corrupted prayer. I am the ring now, carrying matrimonial hunger across galactic distances until sufficient oath wealth accumulates to complete cosmic union between Demon Prince and Stellar Bride, ceremony that death shall never part.